Hello everybody, welcome back to another ASMR video. This video is going to be the continuation piece, if you will, to the Keepers video. Now, you don't necessarily have to have seen the Keepers to watch this, but I think it would be a little bit more interesting perhaps if you had, or at least knew the general basis of what the Keepers is all about. Now, there is a strong connection, very strong connection, between the abuse at Keough High School and the death of Kathy Sesnick. But while many believe and have theories that Kathy Sesnick was indeed murdered because of what she knew at Keough, 100%, there is some alarming evidence that perhaps maybe Kathy knew even more, or perhaps what Kathy knew was just the tip of the iceberg of some really horrible things going on, even more so. Now, in the Out of the Shadows, there is I have some notes here just so I make sure I'm explaining this correctly. There are several episodes that talk about MKUltra and how it is believed that Joseph Maskell and other priests such as Father Magnus and Father Magnus, and this brother Bob and these other figures were perhaps a part of, and they played a huge part and role in this top secret CIA project that exploited and terrorized many people, sex workers, women, and children around this time. Now, what is MKUltra? The US government was engaged in many secret medical experiments designed to help the Cold War and develop techniques for mind control. In May 1953, they were researching experiments on the military, and a new goal was created to create a subservient people. Originally, MKUltra was called Artichoke. The goal of the project was this. Under MKUltra, the CIA's goal was to wipe out memory, promote amnesia, and perform an act of attempted assassination involuntarily under the influence of artichoke. Now, I have sued the government for this. Sex workers were often exploited, and women would go to the doctor and they just had a baby and they had postpartum or something, let's say, for example, and they would just instantly throw them into these experiments and torture people. And yeah, the whole thing is crazy and out to lunch and wild, but it really happened in our world. Now, to go back to how this links to Joseph Maskell, which I find this so interesting. I was listening to an episode of Out of the Shadows with Gemma from The Keepers and Shane, who is the co-host or the main host. I'm not sure how they split up their titles. I also feel bad because I always forget Shane's full name and title, but I love that podcast. Please go watch it. Anyways, they had episodes talking about MKUltra and the connection with Maskell, but what really kind of like sealed the deal with this was a woman named Lynn Shirmer, and they had interviewed her on the podcast, and I was blown away by this interview and by her story and the connection here, so I'm gonna share that with you for the tingles and for the story time. But I definitely think you should go check out that podcast and hear about it for yourself. It's unbelievable, and this woman is such a fighter. So Lynn Shirmer was watching the Keepers, like we all were, and Lynn Shirmer is an artist, and she was watching the Keepers like we all were doing in 2017. I think that was when it came out. And in the Keepers they talk about Dr. Christian Richter, and they even share his photo, and he was the doctor that was doing examinations and illegal abortions and things on the young women of Keough High School that were being abused by Joseph Maskell. Lynn Shirmer was watching, and the second that Christian Richter's picture came up on the screen, she began to scream, and she recognized him immediately. Lynn Shirmer was heavily she was trafficked her entire childhood. She experienced intergenerational abuse and was sexually abused. She was born in 1963, and when she was about 4 or 5, she began going to these doctor's appointments, and these things were happening to her. In turn, she was being sexually trafficked, and her parents were allowing this, and they were a part of this. They knew about it. When the doctor's appointments began to happen about once a month, they were running behavioral experiments out of her parents' pediatrician's office with various forms of torture, sexual abuse. She was being shocked. They were training her for disassociation. And again, her parents knew this. And it is believed that her parents were given some sort of compensation for her trafficking. Clearly, they must have been, because Lynn was accepted into another program that was carrying out similar experiences, similar experiments that she was already going through at such a young age. And they moved to Birmingham, Alabama. Now, again, like I just said, Lynn believes that her family was being compensated because throughout the years, their house got bigger and their belongings got more lavish. And I mean, her parents didn't do anything of consequence except that her father was doing work, but of some sort, for the CIA. life is now beautiful and thriving, but has been hard. So Lynn's memory became very clouded. She had recurring nightmares, but Lynn always knew that even though she was being conditioned for disassociating and they were like using her in various different experiences. I keep saying experiments. She wasn't completely conditioned through this. She remembers a lot of the abuse she endured, and she knew something was not quite right. Her father, even as she believes, helped traffic other children. He used trigger words and tactics and scripts to keep her and other children subservient and conditioned. And as I said earlier, her father did work in some sect of the CIA, but they can't really, if you ask someone if they work for the CIA, they can't really deny or agree that they do or something like that. So yeah, she's unsure, because they legally can't say, and she'll never know. Today, she is completely cut off from her family. And she is doing so much through her art and through her, using her platform, as an artist to raise these issues and educate about childhood sexual abuse, and, anxiety and PTSD. But how this connects to MKUltra, again, is Christian Richter. She knew him. She remembers him frequently partaking in these examinations of her body, and he was one of the people that was abusing her. Christian Richter was the doctor that was taking care of the gynecological surgeries and examinations, of the young women in Keough High School. Does this not blow your mind? I was like, can you imagine being Lynn Shirmer and watching the Keepers like the rest of the world, and all of a sudden your abuser, one of your many abusers, just comes on screen, and then you're just like, oh my god, there is an even deeper connection to this story that links to me. And so she is interviewed on Out of the Shadows, and so again, this is another piece and link to the Keepers that I found just I thought it was mind blowing, and it makes even more sense as to why Gene Weiner. I mean, we all know how abusers operate and work, but the MKUltra project and these experiments and the connections with higher up individuals in society, such as people like Joseph Maskell, and so it's like Joseph Maskell was more than likely, probably 100%, aiding in the trafficking and experiments and conditioning of these women. Joseph Richter, oh my god. Joseph Maskell is dead, as I said in my last video. Which, good riddance. And, Christian Richter, he is now deceased as well. So none of these, men can really say one way or the other. But, throughout this time when, Joseph Maskell was asked to leave Keough, and, he, went to various other schools and received treatment and things like that. So Joseph Maskell, as victims, I'm sure, that still have not come forward and probably don't know even. And that's same thing with Christian Richter. I mean, that's something that Lynn Shirmer probably very well blocked out of her brain, or at least was, coping with in her own way. And there he was. And so coming forward. And I really encourage you to check out Out of the Shadows and listen to that podcast and that Lynn Shirmer episode yourself. It's really amazing, her story, and like she speaks so eloquently and strong and beautiful and yeah, very inspiring. Yeah, let me know if you listen to it, and let me know what you think of this video. I love you guys, and I really appreciate you for watching. I know that things are stressful, but I'm here for you, and I hope that these videos can give you relaxing tingles. I cut my finger this morning. I am notorious for cutting my fingers. I had stitches twice last year, so I'm trying not to do that again. But I almost did it earlier, and I was like, this is not the time to go to the hospital and get stitches. Like, they got better things to do than stitch you up, lady, so calm down. So, stay healthy, everybody. I just gleeked. Stay healthy, everybody. It's the golden hour. At least for me right now here as I'm recording this. Probably not when you're watching this, but the next golden hour. Just bask in it and think of me. And let me know how you're doing. And if there is anything that I can do for you virtually, I'm here for you. I love you. I love you. You are valid. We will get through this. I just rested in my spit. Bye, guys. Thank you. Don't forget to tell your friends and tell your grandma or your roommate